Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to tonight's live Viviana show. So tonight's topic is how to shift your career from project to product management. And we had a bit of a change in the topic in the last few days. So apologies if you registered before for the cloud live stream. But I'm sure I did send you quite a quick note saying that the topic changed for tonight. So welcome. So tonight's topic, how to shift your career from project to product management. Thank you so much for finding some time this evening to join our live stream. So make sure you introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. So if you're new here, just remind you, I'm Jan Martin. So I've recently started my journey as IT recruiter. And that's why I've started a new YouTube channel dedicated to IT career in Australia. So again, tonight we're going to talk about how to shift your career from project to product management. And Rían is going to share his journey, his career transition, and also share his top tips if you're considering such a transition in your career. So obviously incredibly relevant topic for those who are looking into breaking into the product management. So make sure to share and tag people that need to hear this. So before I pass it on to Rían to introduce himself, I just want to quickly remind you that we're going live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. To watch replays, I always encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. I'm going live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network, and we're talking about all the things IT career, job search, and specifics of IT industry in Australia. You can also join my meetup group to make sure you get notifications for upcoming discussions. Hopefully, we'll start doing some face-to-face events soon. And for now, we're going to answer all your questions from all the platforms. So please make sure ask as many questions as you want, because the most active participants might get some nice surprise at the end of the stream as well. So as I said, if you have a chance, please introduce yourself in the comments. We always like to see who's here, who's listening to us tonight. And if you're considering transitioning your career to product management, let us know and let us know why. So that's enough of me. I'm passing on to Rían to introduce himself, please.
Thanks, Jana. Thank you for that introduction. So my name is Rían Chapman. Some people mispronounce it and call me Rían, and that's the best way to get me offside if you call me Rían. My name is Rían. So I'm a digital...
I'm glad I got it right.
I'm a digital product manager working at ANZ Bank here in Melbourne. So I'm sure you've probably got a wide audience tonight, but I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. So a bit more about me. So I never set out to work in digital product management. I'm actually an arts law and commerce graduate and qualified as a CPA, certified practicing accountant. But I grew up loving technology, coding and playing with computers. I was also insanely interested in human psychology. But unlike Jana, I never sort of took it to the next level of actually studying it. In my spare time, I worked on a few startups, which got me connected with people in digital and led me to doing something I love as a full-time job, which is working as a senior digital product manager. I'm a big advocate of the idea that if you are unconventional in pursuing something that you believe is your true vocation, it makes you stand out because of your energy, because of your determination and resilience to what you're passionate about. But we'll get more into passion later in this show today. In short, passion counts for a lot. There's something magical about doing something you actually love, and that for me is digital, and doing it as a job too is just amazing for me. It's not an easy job by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of technology work involved with it. Nothing ever seems to go according to plan, but that's kind of like an analogy for life. You set up with the grandest of visions and things kind of hit you along the way and you end up sort of going somewhere else. I also have aspirations of being a UX designer, but I realized quite a long time ago that I'm okay with UX design, but I'm not excellent at it.
And the puppy.
And the puppy, yeah. So a little bit, yeah. So sadly, I lost one of my dogs. He passed away a couple of months ago, which is very sad, very hard to deal with. But they say better the best way of getting back into something is getting back on the horse. So I got a new puppy in my life. So I'm not sure which one you think is cuter. I know which one is cuter. It's the puppy, but yeah, he's a little terrorist at my house. He just causes mayhem.
Puppies, they're adorable. COVID puppies, I guess quite a few people have those ones. Ravi saying hi. Thank you, Ravi. Okay, so in Tom, I guess let's just dig straight into it. Before, I guess we will talk about this, like, transition from, project management to product. It will be great if you give us a bit of an overview in terms of who is like a product manager, and what sort of responsibility product manager has, because there is I feel like it's kind of a reasonably new role if we're thinking about, looking at the broader picture. And actually, that's a question to our audience as well. Like, when do you think the product manager became so popular? So, what's your opinion? So share with us as well. So Rían, to you. So I guess tell us a little bit about product management and, what it's like to be a product manager.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll share sort of what is a typical day for me as a product manager, because I think that kind of will help you contextualize what my work is like. But a typical day for me in the life of a product manager is leading cross-functional teams. So you're very hands-on, leading software, in my role at least, in digital, leading software engineers, designers, analysts, and release leads. There's a lot of work involved with rolling your sleeves up and getting into data, so figuring out what customers are doing and what they want. It's also about responding to customer feedback. So once you have those insights on what customers are doing and what they want, it's a case of working out how you prioritize that work and then get into actually delivering on it. You also spend a lot of time evolving roadmaps. So roadmaps are very important as a product manager, and effectively they're your plan effectively for the next 12, 18, 2 years, whatever it is. 18 months, 12, 2 years. Obviously, product vision is very important as well. So having a very clear view on where you want to take your product. You spend a lot of time understanding markets, competitors, design as well, and technology trends as well, because you effectively sit at the sort of the center of all of these influences, and you need to bring them all together and make sense of it to deliver something of value for customers. And you also spend a fair amount of your time working with senior leaders as well to make sure that they're on board with what you're trying to deliver, and they're getting you the people and the resources you need to deliver as well.
I guess, my question would be from here also, how technical product manager needs to be, because, it looks like in your typical day, if I look at it from the outside perspective, seems like it's a lot of technology involved. So, like, how technical product managers need to be?
It ultimately depends on the industry you work in. So if you're a digital product manager, for example, your focus tends to be on the tech side. So you need to have a very good understanding of the capabilities of tech. Doesn't mean you need to be responsible for coding. And for that matter, some product managers or product owners do come from an engineering background, but you need to have an appreciation of the capabilities of the tech to know what you can actually deliver in terms of value for customers. So if you're in the digital side, tech's important. Or if you're in software, for example, tech's important. If you're a product manager not in digital, I think the fundamental requirement there is that you have a solid understanding of your subject matter. So if you're a logistics product manager, for example, so you're working in transport and you're packaging up products for clients or figuring out solutions for clients, you'd need to understand, obviously, your customers, and you need to understand the capabilities of your organization to deliver value for those customers.
And I guess, what are the challenges? What's the biggest challenges in your role?
For me, and I guess this is specific to me working in digital, one of them is the Amazon effect, I call it. So effectively, I'm sure if a lot of you have probably bought stuff from Amazon. If I look around my room here, there's plenty of stuff that I can say Jeff Bezos sold to me. Plenty of stuff. But basically what Amazon tends to do for those that work in digital, it sets a very high benchmark in terms of the quality of digital experience. And you're probably all familiar with their recommendation, personalization approach as well. And that sets a very high benchmark for anyone working in digital, because effectively that becomes the norm for a lot of people. So if someone comes to you as a customer, and they look at Amazon, they go, well, that's the Amazon experience. I expect you're going to deliver something as good, if not better. That's one of the challenges. I work in financial services, as I mentioned. There's a lot of change happening in financial services. There's disruption. There's a lot of new entrants. There's startups, neobanks, etc. So that's quite challenging. And anyone working in a product management role will face into disruption. Relevance as well. For me, tied into disruption is the concept of relevance. How relevant are banks as a product? I mean, what do we provide to customers? Is it relevant anymore? Could a customer, for example, instead of taking out a credit card, take out Afterpay and link that up to their transaction account at PayPal? And the other challenge we have is customer bases as well. So it's about segmentation. So we have a lot of difference in our customer bases, which can be a challenge when it comes to delivering digital experience. So for example, you've got millennials who have very different life experiences and different expectations versus baby boomers who have different life experiences and preferences. So how do you account for that in what is a single kind of digital experience can be quite challenging for me as a product manager.
And like, you mentioned here, obviously, that, you work in financial services and, you could be some changes there. Like, if you're product manager, in financial services, is it hard to switch to a different domain? Like, you mentioned obviously here that you need to understand, like, market and, what's going on and do the market research. So how hard for the product managers shift domains? Like, if you know everything about finance industry now, like, would you rather stay in this industry, or is it not that industry specific?
It's agnostic. The skills of a product manager are agnostic. The application of those skills tend to be industry specific. So you tend to find if you're a product manager, for example, in digital, you tend to stay within digital because effectively that's your domain of skills and application of your knowledge. And that comes back to what you were saying before, Jana, is that you understand the market, you understand customer experience, but you understand it in the context of digital. If you're coming back to logistics example, if you're a logistics product manager, then you tend to stay within that industry. That's not to say you can't shift out, but you would need to have a strategy for how you shift out and actually take those same core attributes or skills that you need as a product manager and how you would apply them to another industry. And that can sometimes mean that you might have to sort of start a little bit lower in the hierarchy when you go to some different industries, for example.
Yeah. And we have a few people saying hi guys, hi Xu. So again, if you're just joining us, make sure to feel free to ask any questions. You can just pop them in the comments. So I guess, how we shift, we want to be product managers working in a project at the moment, like, I don't know, like for someone who's not coming from IT industry, for me, for example, I'm thinking like, project manager, product manager sounds really familiar, There's a lot of familiarity in the name. So how different it is and how different to make this transition. So what do you think, Rían?
Yeah, it's a good question. So they are different. They're definitely different. And I've had the benefit of working in both roles. And for me personally, I wouldn't go back to being a project manager because I love product management a lot more. And there's a reason why, which I'll talk about now. A product manager's focus is on a product and the customers or users of that product. And you often see that encapsulated when you see a product vision. So this means a product manager is obsessed about three things. They're obsessed about customer experience, they're obsessed about metrics, and they're obsessed about data. So customer experience plus metrics plus data adds up to the same thing, which is delivering great value for customers in the form of a product or customer value. If you compare that to a project manager's role, and I might be generalizing here a bit, so no discredit to anyone that's on this show today in terms of them being a project manager, but from my own experience, project managers tend to be more linear in the sense that they've got one focus effectively, which is on requirements. They have a set of requirements. They need to see those requirements delivered using metrics like cost, time, and for example, if it's a software project, making sure there's no bugs. So the focus tends to be a lot sharper as a project manager. When you're a product manager, you tend to have a number of dimensions that you need to focus on simultaneously. So there's a lot more challenge I find as a product manager. But at the same time, the great thing about being a product manager is that you see customer value delivered. And when you see customer value delivered into the hands of customers, it's a very rewarding experience.
Like, would you say like a project manager have more defined, I guess, timeline? because you deliver a particular project, you have a bit of more structure in a way.
Yeah, it's a good point. A good reference point in terms of timing is that effectively, normally when it comes to project management, you sort of have a set time frame. So you might say this is a 12-month project, and sometimes normally that should be based on planning well in advance. With product, there's no timeline. Effectively, the idea with product is you own an experience that's going to change over time. So your roadmap is indicative of the work that happens over the next 12 or 18 months or 2 years, for example. But the expectation is the product doesn't suddenly disappear at the end of your 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. That product lives on in some form. And so product management, I guess the best way to think about product management, it's a journey. It's a continual journey, whereas project management it's a destination.
Destination, yeah. Here we go. That's, I guess, the one way to look at it. And I know that you prepare some history lesson for us for this live stream. I did ask you guys before the question about when do you think the product management became popular. So if you have some opinion, please pop it in the comments. I think we actually and we have some questions coming up, but okay, let's do history lesson first before we get to the questions. So
so
1900.
1900. So a quick one on that slide, Jana. So my point there is effectively, if you were a project manager and a product manager starting out in 1900, effectively what would happen in that time is that the project manager would basically build a car to spec based on 1900. So they go, here's the car I want to build. These are the requirements at 1900. My job is done. But what you would see is pretty much an old car. So effectively today, fast forward to today, you'd be driving a car from the 1900s, approaching things as a project manager. If you're a product manager during that entire period, the car you see on the screen is the car that you'd be working on as a product manager, because effectively you've iterated, you've built out off the original concept of what you started out as a product manager. And so coming to the history lesson, for those that don't know this, and hopefully I haven't seen any responses on this one, so I'm guessing most people don't know this, product management isn't some sort of new revolutionary thing like Bitcoin, for example. It's been around since 1931 with a guy called Neil H. McElroy. So Google him, Neil H. McElroy. And he started out with product management back in 1931 with a company that some of you may be familiar with called Procter & Gamble. So search him. And if you search for the words "the brand men," you'll find his manifesto from 1931, which kind of it's quite uncanny. It actually substantiates a lot of the work we do today as product managers. So it's an interesting read if you get a chance. But 1931.
1931. Here we go. So it's not part of the Agile Revolution.
It preceded it. Maybe call it the Art Deco Revolution instead.
Art Deco Revolution. That's a good one. I just have a look in the building in St Kilda, 1937. Yes, so here we go. Almost that time. So we have a question from LinkedIn. Sorry, I can't see your name for some reason, maybe because we're not connected on LinkedIn. Hi, Ryan. I'm senior associate. Want to shift from development role to product management, doing a course on PM and searching for PM job. Doing the course and searching for PM job will be sufficient. Please give me some guidance. I think that's a massive question here in terms of, shifting from development role. So we're kind of a little bit concentrating on shifting from project to product. But I think what Ryan has prepared for us key points that we need to take in consideration when we're thinking to move to the product management. And I guess that's exactly what Ryan gonna tell us and give us a few tips as well where to start when we're doing this transition. So yes, so what are those important things we need to take in consideration before actually even moving to the product management?
For sure. So what we'll go through is, I guess, the sort of key skills or attributes that you need to be aware of, that you need to sort of demonstrate to work successfully in product management. This isn't exhaustive, by the way, but these are the key things that I've seen in terms of my own experience of a long time working in product management. The first one is around mindset. And so what tends to happen is that people look at product management as a role. They look at it for product management's sake. So the idea being that, product management is sexy, and therefore I want to work in product management because it sounds sexy. That is the wrong approach to coming into product management. You need to come into this with the right mindset of being a T-shaped individual. And the idea being you need to have passion, which I'll talk about in a moment, but you need to have passion, obviously, for product. But the second part of it, you need to have some broad experience as well. So if you've got a very narrow focus, if all you've been is a software developer and all you've done is coded one specific app for the last 10 years, then it's going to be hard for you. I'll be honest and say it's going to be hard for you. You need to build out your proficiency in other areas as well. So if you look at my CV, for example, or you check me out on LinkedIn, you'll see that I've done plenty of jobs. I've worked in contact centers. I worked as a dishwasher. I've worked as a graduate. I've worked in finance projects, tech projects, you name it, I've worked in it. And the benefit that brings me or offers me is that I can actually have a diverse understanding of a number of different topics, because as a product manager, you won't be just focusing purely on product management. You'll be doing a lot of different things simultaneously. So you need to have some breadth of experience. Is very important. And so therefore you need to have a broad canvas of experience and knowledge as well. And that's consistent. Every product manager that I've worked with has had a broad background. So a lot of people I work with have had marketing backgrounds, but they've worked in project management roles. I've had people that have worked in psychology, for example, or UX design, and they've worked in product management roles. So they've had some diverse experiences as well. So mindset's important.
Yep. Also, I guess did you feel like you had some sort of shift in the mindset when you transition?
I think if anything, from my transition to product management was quite an easy one, and we'll get into that at the end of the show today. You know, it'll make sense when I get to it. But yeah, don't want to give it away too early. But it's a mystery. But yeah, I've had a lot of diverse experience in my own career, and it's remarkable how those diverse experiences have kind of helped me land where I am today in my life.
Stick to the end. We'll tell the Rían secret at the end of the stream. So you also mentioned that passion for product is really important. Then you're thinking about transition. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, for sure. So I touched on this at the start of today's show, but also just a few moments ago as well, is that if you are approaching product management as a role that sounds sexy and it's going to pay you well, which it does, and it is sexy, I'll be honest. But if you approach it just purely on superficial terms like that, it's not going to work for you, to be honest. Recruiters will see through that. Your future boss will see through that as well. You need to have a passion for product. And it was passion, for example, in my case, that got me from project management to product management. Passion is extremely powerful. And even if you are weak in certain skills, so I spoke about T-shaped individuals before and having breadth of knowledge, even if you don't have a heap of breadth, a wide breadth of knowledge, for example, so long as you've got some knowledge and you've got some breadth in that, passion is going to account for a lot of what it takes to get into product management. So I'll give you an example. So for me, in my spare time, and I still do it today, is I work on startups. I have sort of side hustles I work on. I'm quite creative in my spare time. These days for me, it's about teaching and product management and digital transformation. Back when I started out in product management though, I just finished up working on a startup and I'd sold that startup. So I had a lot of hands-on experience of what it took to run effectively a business in my spare time and also lead an engineering team. So the fact that I was hustling in my spare time, I had this breadth of experience was fantastic, because effectively when the role popped up, it could demonstrate that I was different to a lot of other candidates who just had very narrow experience. And outside of that, I also demonstrated passion as well. So passion plus breadth of experience is very powerful.
And I guess my question will be again similar that I asked before. So passion for product, do you need to be passionate for the particular industry? Do you have any passion for finance itself?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do you need to have this passion for finance?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So basically, if you're trying to apply for a product manager role in finance and your passion is in aeronautics, and you're going to the interview and you're saying your passion's in aeronautics, it's not going to work for you. So to be pragmatic and realistic, you need to have a passion for the product. So it doesn't necessarily mean though, say for example, you don't have experience in the product. Experience in the product versus passion for the product are two separate things. So for example, in my case, I had passion for digital, but the product I was going to work on was a mobile banking app. My passion in digital was elsewhere, but just the fact that I had the passion, I demonstrated that I was willing to commit time outside of work to work in my passion as a product, demonstrated my willingness to kind of have passion for the new area I was going to work in as well. So treat it as a sort of like an agnostic concept. But effectively, I guess passion and knowledge are two separate things. But yeah, I mean, effectively, you need to have some sort of knowledge or willingness to learn the knowledge for the domain you're going to step into.
Yeah, 100%. Xu has a question. What's the team structure like in the product development team? How does a business analyst fit into the team if applicable?
Yeah, I can answer that really quickly. There is a definite role within a product development team for a business analyst. Some organizations call them journey experts, but the effective business analyst. From my own experience on a day-to-day basis, I have a business analyst that works very closely with me, who's effectively across the detail. So I work very closely with our executives. I work very closely on roadmaps, leading the team. But when it comes to the underlying stories, the user stories that we write up, that are used as a reference point to build out the mobile banking app that I work on, the business analyst is accountable for creating those stories and making sure that they're actually delivered by our engineers.
And usually, I guess from the team structure, is it a separate, like, do you have some separate product development team itself, or you have a separate teams of like developers that have a BA and product owner in each team?
Normally the way it works, and it comes back to, I guess, every organization could be a little bit different around this. So I can only sort of explain my own knowledge, but also, I guess, reference it back to the Scrum framework as well, is that normally you have a development team or delivery team, and that delivery team works very closely with a product owner or product manager. And embedded within that team, you have the engineers working side by side with a business analyst, with a tester, with a designer, etc. So it's all it's supposed to be a cross-functional team working very closely with a product lead.
She's saying, thank you for your answer, Brian. Thank you. And Dominic has a question for you as well. How can a startup developing a web app get access to product development skills at reasonable cost?
When you say product, I'm not sure about product development skills. You're talking about like a product manager or a product lead?
Dominic, please give us a bit of a insight on your question. So that we can, I guess, give the right answer. Okay, so we mentioned a few things. So the mindset is important. The passion for the product is important. So what else? What's other thing that need to take in consideration that we're thinking about this career?
Yeah, I want to talk about CX. So for those that aren't familiar with design thinking, there's a concept called design thinking, which is this, EDIPT, EDIPT. If you aren't familiar with it, I strongly recommend, if you're thinking about working in product management, to get into this and understand and spend some time really understanding it. It's a full framework that's used as part of the design thinking framework, and the fundamental of it is test and learn. And test and learn is critical when it comes to working product management, because effectively what you're asked to do is come up with concepts that are going to create customer value. And unless you're Steve Jobs, who I greatly admire, you're not going to be able to create the next iPhone just out of your own capabilities. You need to actually be using design thinking to find out what customers really want, which leads me to the sort of point, the key point here, which is understanding good CX. Regardless of what domain or industry you work in, you are delivering effectively for users or customers, and you need to understand what good CX looks like for those customers or individuals. So you need to have the ability, which is kind of reflected in design thinking, to step into their shoes, to be great at understanding customers, great at understanding their needs. You also need to be very open to the idea of experimentation and taking risks. There's no looking like a fool when it comes to being a product manager, because effectively everyone expects you to make plenty of mistakes, but to get it right occasionally as well. And the other part of it as well is that, like I mentioned before, you need to be able to apply design thinking. And design thinking, by the way, is not just about professional pursuits and product management. It's also a very powerful framework personally as well, and things that you might do. But the key message there is that as a product manager, regardless of domain industry, you need to be willing and, in fact, happy to step into your customers' shoes and spend time with them. For example, the folks at Uber Eats regularly go out and visit their drivers. They go and visit diners, for example, and see how they're eating, how they're ordering. You need to be comfortable doing that as well. And for me, part of my role is that as well. I love it because effectively you're seeing something that's very different to your own day-to-day existence.
And I guess the fact that you were passionate about CX before help you, the passion for CX help you with your transition as well.
Absolutely. And that comes, passion. It's that constant theme here that, passion is really important. And even, for example, as a product manager, which you will need to do quite regularly, is get up in front of your stakeholders at Showcase and show what your team have built or created. Get up in front of executives as well. If you're sort of standing here like this going, I just built this product and I think it's okay, not sure what you guys think, versus I really love this product. We've built it. We've spoken to 101 customers. They've told us they want this. We've just built in the last sprint. We're going to ship it to customers next week. You can see the difference already. Passion accounts for a lot in terms of your ability to not only be successful as a product manager, but to enjoy the role.
We coming back to Dominic questions. He said we understood it correctly. So how can a startup developing a web app get access to product development skills at a reasonable cost?
You got to hire people. I think Dominic is the secret there. I don't think you get access to skills for free. You're going to have to hire people, whether it's like a crowdsourcing platform like, Upwork, for example. And I guess my tip there is wherever you go to get those people, be very crystal clear with what your expectations are, because there might be people out there that say they're product managers, but maybe they don't have the right expertise for you. So you need to have a very clear view as potentially a startup founder, which it sounds like you are. Okay, another question here, Dominic. How can a startup with limited resource developing a web app get access to product management skills at a reasonable cost? It's the same concept. Basically, you need to go to Upwork or a third-party platform that could connect you with providers. Most of the time, you probably have to do it virtually, because I don't think you'd be able to hire local people at a cost that's going to be affordable if you're bootstrapping.
Yep. Okay, so I just will be, keep summarizing. So, we talk about passion a few times. We talk about mindset. We talk about the experience of CX. So what else? What else we need to take in consideration that we're thinking to shift to product management?
Yeah, I spoke about passion earlier, and that was, for me, that was a key differentiator when it came to getting my first job as a product manager, having been a project manager / lead BA in the past, or a project director. The other part of the equation was networking as well. So networking, and I'll say it again, networking is powerful. And I'm by no means a paragon of virtue when it comes to networking. I tend to get obsessed with my work and perhaps neglect the people networking side of things at times. And that's just me, just my personality. But I've recognized throughout my career, if I don't invest the time in meeting people, connecting with people, getting myself out there, getting my brand out there, you're failing to invest in yourself if you don't do that. And failing to invest in yourself means that you won't get to where you want to be in your career, to be honest. So I'll give you a bit of an analogy. In my first role as applying for a product management role, I actually applied for another role, missed out on it, but it was in digital. But fortunately, I caught up with the person that was hiring for that role afterwards for a coffee. We had a great chat. They told me why I didn't get the role, which was fine. But then as part of the conversation, they put me in touch with someone else in their network. And that person in their network actually had a role in product management. And when the time came for them to hire me in 3 months' time down the road from that first coffee, literally I was front of mind for that person when they were looking to hire a product manager. So literally I was in their mind when it came to hiring for someone. I went through the interview process and was successful in getting the role because A, I'd networked, and B, because I was very passionate about what I did. So you need to be in front of people and getting noticed as well. And the other thing as well is, even if you aren't someone that's necessarily in product management today, but you want to get into that space, getting onto LinkedIn, building up your profile in product management. So whether it's writing articles, posting stuff, putting YouTube videos up, whatever it is, step out of your comfort zone, learn the subject matter, start posting, start getting noticed by people as well. It's important.
As a serial LinkedIn networker, I must say that there's definitely some magic sometimes happens in terms of, you talk with one person, then another person introduces you to another person. And then, suddenly before you know it, you just build this network of people. And as you said, stay on the top of the mind. Like Rían, we met with you a few days ago. just because one of my good connections said that, Jan and Rían, you should connect. You have, you're doing similar project. You two people that probably can do something together, as simple as it is. So once you build this network, the opportunities start coming towards you as well. And especially if you clear to your network what you're actually trying to achieve. So they can't guess what you want. So you can't just silently think that I want to transition to product management. You actually need to go and tell people that that's what you want to do.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And, you may not have the skills or experience, but again, passion. If you're getting in front of people that you're networking and demonstrating your passion for getting into this space, you're doing stuff about it, you're learning, you might be doing courses, you might be posting stuff on LinkedIn, you might be willing, for example, just take a role that's a bit junior to what you're doing today just to get into this space, that counts for a lot.
100%. And I guess there's one more thing you wanted to mention as well. I guess a bit more technical here. So yeah, what about some data? Like what we should do with the data and when we in the product management space?
Yeah, so I mentioned this at the outset. The sort of the formula for success when it comes to product management is being customer obsessed. It's being metrics focused and obviously data comfortable as well. And so metrics and data are really two important areas that even if you don't have a product management role today, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be getting experience and expertise in. So metrics comes down to things like customers. When we work in digital, we're very much obsessed with understanding what customers are doing and saying about us. So things like customer satisfaction score, so CSAT, NPS, Net Promoter Score, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole heap of measures. You should get familiar with them and understand how they work as well, and even look at how they're applied in practice, because as a product manager, you need to be very comfortable getting into those metrics and demonstrating that you understand how to use them and how you actually interpret them as well. And tied into that is the ability to take data to understand at a granular level what your customers are actually doing. So in a digital world, in my mobile app world, we have the ability to track what customers are doing in real time. And we have databases where we capture that data. So part of my role was to spend a lot of time on that data, seeing what customers are actually doing from each screen. So what the sort of flows are, where they're getting stopped, where they're stumbling, where they're stepping out of the flow, et cetera, because that is very powerful for you as a product manager to constantly improve your product. So I gave that analogy before about the car from 1900 versus the modern BMW from today. That's where data becomes really important. So effectively, if you're not getting into data, you'll be staying with a car that's built in 1900. If you're going with the metrics and data, you'll end up building a product, such as a car, that's relevant for today.
On this note, I actually want to ask you a question regarding the data. It's often, we advise to use the gut feeling as well. So did you have like this, experience where, you might want to change something, like, in the feature or something, and data saying you one thing, but you have this like a gut feeling that maybe that's not like exactly the right change. I don't know. Did you have this ever this I don't know, the conflict inside that the data and what you think maybe didn't coincide?
Have it all the time. It happens all the time. So there's a school of thought within product management that sometimes customers don't know what they want. And if you're Steve Jobs, you could probably get away with that because Steve was quite a CX attuned person. He often had great concepts before even customers had thought about them. So, for example, taking a cellular phone and bring it together with an iPod to create effectively what is iPhone. Great concept. But unless you're really, really good and you really have a great compass in this stuff, normally you should go with the data. But that said, I mentioned this earlier, that when it comes to product management, there are no mistakes within reason when it comes to product management, and therefore you're encouraged to experiment and try things. So test and learn is very important. So that design thinking ecosystem I took you through before. So even if you do have that sort of gut feel and the data's telling you one thing, but you're pretty confident, you're pretty certain that you want to go a different direction, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. You can test it out. If it doesn't work, you can pull that feature, that sort of increment you've done of your product, and change it to where the data is telling you to go. So there's no right or wrong with that. But yeah, I think probably 9 times out of 10, the data never lies.
There you go. It's only 10% there. We have a few questions, Ryan. So Dominic is asking, are the same readily available tools perhaps online that can help startup founders with their product management?
Plenty of tools, Dominic, plenty of tools. So I'm not sure what exact tools you're sort of looking for, but if you want planning tools, there's things like Asana. There's Trello, for example, as well, from a planning perspective. So if you want to capture sort of high-level stories, if you're wanting to get into more detailed user story definition, there's tools like Jira. There's collaboration tools like Confluence and Slack, et cetera, et cetera. So plenty of tools. I'd say just do your research and be specific about what you're after, and you'll find them. And by the way, I will say as well, a lot of them actually give you a free license as well. So if you use it just for limited, if you've only got 3 or 4 people using it simultaneously, you can normally get a free license as well, which saves costs.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to ask. Like, is it a free or paid one? So there is options there. Depends on the quantity you need. Another question from LinkedIn. Software industry product management and other industry product management are different. That's actually a question that I wanted to ask before. Yes. So what's the difference in someone, a product manager in a software company, or digital, or someone product management in a different industry? So where is this? Where it sits?
Sure. Thank you, LinkedIn user.
LinkedIn user, can you put your name in the comment, because for some reason we can't see your name. Sorry.
Can't see it. That's right. There are differences, and I won't hijack this session today to go through all the differences, but effectively, if you look at it from a software perspective, software development is very unique because you're working with specific folks with specific skills that are required to build an app or a website, for example. And so obviously the knowledge and expertise and the processes and the steps you go through are very unique to that industry. If you're working in, say, a logistics product management role, and you're working specifically on product. So if I take a step back, in digital, product is the digital experience. That's effectively our product. There is this view these days, which is happening, where you're basically trying to merge in or blend in the actual physical product or service with the digital experience, and that's happening. But generally speaking, when you talk about digital product management, the product is digital. So effectively, to build out a digital experience, you need engineers, you need testers, etc. So that's your software, industry context. If you're in logistics, we'll just use as a simple example. If you're in logistics, your product would be a logistics product. So that might be, for example, transporting heavy-duty goods across Australia on the back of a truck. And so your focus there, whilst it's very similar in terms of your end state, which is about delivering customer value, your steps to deliver that product in terms of who you work with, so it might be potentially truckers, might be people that are engineers to confirm the weight that can be absorbed on a truck. All those kind of things are going to be different depending on the industry as well. So it is contextual.
Yeah, and I guess the addition to add to this question, how difficult those transitions. So if you product management, but not in software industry, not in IT, how difficult for you to make this transition?
It's not easy. And again, I'm trying to be as honest and transparent as possible. So in a market where basically an organization who's looking for a digital product manager wants to hire a digital product manager, they would tend to go as their first preference with someone who's actually a digital product manager today, or a digital project manager for that matter as well, because you've got the domain knowledge. You understand, like I said before, the steps of what it takes to create code, to test the code, to ship it to customers. So you've got those steps and they don't have to train you in that. If you're coming from a different industry into, say, digital, we'll use that as a reference point, it means a lot more overhead for that organization to skill you up on that. It's not to say it's not possible, but it is harder. Therefore, what you need to be thinking about, if that's the direction you're wanting to go, if you're coming from a different industry as a product manager into, say, software development, product management, you need to be thinking about the steps you could take to build up your expertise outside of that role today, so that when you would knock on the door to go into software product management, you've got some of those skills understood, and potentially you've got some experience in it as well.
And when you transition from the project management to product management, I guess the other question I want to ask: what project management skills helped you in your product management?
Sure. Number one was the sharpness of delivery. So as a project manager, you learn pretty quickly that there's a lot of pressure to deliver. So even when you're a product manager, just because you're sitting in front of some wireframe, in digital at least, you're sitting in front of some wireframes, ideating on some great concepts, thinking about the great customer experience that people are going to have when they see your app, it doesn't mean that you don't need to deliver it and deliver it quickly, because we don't live in bubbles where people are just throwing you infinite amounts of money to go and take the next 5 years to build something that can be built in 2 weeks. So there is pressure to deliver, and effectively as a project manager, you know quite early on as a project manager how to deal with that pressure and deliver. The other component to the project management skill set is the ability to structure things as well. There is a tendency when you work with creative folks in product management that, like I said before, they tend to get very caught up in the nitty-gritty of digital experiences, for example, and what it takes to build this. And, this thing's going to take 20 screens on an app, for example. And often what can happen is a sense of inertia. So people just get caught up in this and they spend months working on designs when effectively those designs should be done really within 2 weeks. And so what you learn as a project manager is the ability to plan and really chunk things down into sort of bite-sized pieces that you can deliver as well. So there's kind of the delivery focus, there's the ability to sort of rationalize and be a bit more pragmatic about your delivery as well, which you learn very well as a project manager you can bring to product management. And also stakeholder management. Just because you're a product manager doesn't mean you sit in a bubble and you've got your wireframes and you're going off and building this stuff and you don't have to deal with anyone. And that appeals to some people, they're introverts, but it doesn't work like that. You need to be regularly engaging with your stakeholders, no matter where they are in an organization. And as a project manager, you should have that down pat.
Yeah, and I guess we're coming back to this, the example here. So as a project manager, you already know how to build the car, but you just need to have a look, I guess, to all those points that you mentioned. What's the user experience? Where is the passion for product? Where is your mindset? So we can get up to date car. Exactly
right, and that's it. So it's a relatively easy transition, to be honest with you, from being a project manager to a product manager. It's not scary. Is probably my key point there. It's not scary, so it's quite a natural fit. But your mindset needs to change to one of being passionate about the product and seeing what a vision looks like for that product, rather than going, I'm going to spend the next 6 months working on this, then it's done. What's my next project? It doesn't work like that. You need to have a passion for the product and a vision as to where you want to take that product for the next couple of years.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan. I'm just thanks Paramita as well, because she put her name. We didn't know the name of the question about the project management. And I guess I'm cautious about the time. We're already 47 minutes in our live stream. Let's just wrap it up. And as we promised, we were going to say how Steve Jobs helped Ryan, transition to the product management. So, okay, so that's...
Yeah, so I hope most of you know who this is. And Jana's given away by mentioning the name, but this is Steve Jobs from the late 1970s when he was working with Steve Wozniak, creating the first Apple computer. And I've mentioned Steve Jobs a number of times. And for a lot of people working in digital and product management, he's a bit of a legend. Whether his personality was one that you'd want to kind of work with is another topic. But from a product management perspective and CX, customer experience perspective, excellent vision. The reason why I mention this here is that Steve Jobs delivered an address in 2006. And if you haven't seen it, 2005, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on Google, on YouTube, because it's a great address. And basically the concept he spoke about during that address was joining the dots. So it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. When you're going through life, sometimes you have these experiences in your life, you go, I don't know why I went through that. Doesn't make sense. And he said, you can connect the dots looking forward. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust the dots will somehow connect to your future. In your future, you have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever it is. And I love that, because effectively for me, from my product management journey, that's exactly what's happened for me. I mentioned before about the T-shaped individual and breadth of experience. And I mentioned that if you're someone that's just worked as a software engineer and that's all you've done, and you've worked on one single app and you're hoping to get a product management, you need to do a bit more than that. For me, I've worked in a number of different roles. I've worked, as I mentioned, being a dishwasher. I worked as a contact center worker for a while. I worked as a real estate salesperson, shoe salesperson at one point, and then I ended up in the corporate world, and I worked through a number of roles. But at no point did I think I was ever going to get into product management. I didn't even know what it was back then. But the point there is that open yourself up, create a broad canvas in terms of your experiences, go do different things. Steve Jobs, for example, took a class, I think it was at Stanford, where he studied calligraphy for a while. At the time, it didn't make any sense to him, but he loved calligraphy. It became really important for him when he was actually building the first Mac, and they were actually creating script, font on the Mac. And that's when the dot joined for me. He went, that experience has helped me understand how to do something in this world. And for me, I can definitely relate to that. So everything I've done in my past has had some relevance to my role today as a product manager. And that's what's made me hopefully successful in the eyes of others as a product manager. So join the dots. It won't make sense at the time, but later on it will.
And I think the important thing to mention here as well, sometimes it takes patience to join those dots. Because I feel like sometimes I think like, I just want everything to make sense. I just want to like finally land this dream job. I just wanted to make it happen. But I think, as you mentioned, you can't join the dots like straight away. You need to have this broader experience, and then it's come all into sense later. Because I think it's a really good quote. I like every time you start something new, you don't start from the beginning, you start from experience.
It's true.
So even if you're starting something new, it doesn't matter that you're starting from complete scratch. So you always have some sort of experience. It could be like product, it could be industry experience, it could be, like a project management experience, it could be, dishwasher experience, but you already done it, you already went through this. It's just, again, a great example of connecting all these dots to understand the next step.
And every one of those experiences gives you something. It gives you a lesson. And that lesson might be really relevant for product management, or it might be relevant for dealing with people, interacting with people. But every experience you have has something in it. There's a sort of blessing in every experience, which is a very sort of stoic kind of philosophical thing about, don't treat it as a negative thing, whatever you go through. Treat it as a positive, because you'll actually learn from it as well. And I think that's true of everyone that's potentially looking to step into product management. Look at your canvas of experience and see what you can actually pull out of it that's going to be relevant for product management, because you will find a lot of things you've been through and a lot of things that are going to be relevant for this role.
100%. So guys, if you have any final question, please pop it in the comments. We only have 5 minutes left of our live stream. So if anyone have any last minute question, please pop it in the comment. In the meantime, I just want to tell you that actually tonight, it's our last live stream of 2021. I actually can't believe that, it's almost Christmas. So I didn't even put the Christmas tree up yet. I'm just like, I don't feel Christmas vibe at all for some reason this year, probably because I can't believe that the year went so quickly. And I think like some of you can relate to this feeling when like few months of your life just disappear somewhere, and the all like last two years just get blended in. So last show tonight of 2021. Thank you, Rían, for being part of it. So we're gonna start from next February. So I'm not gonna do any streams in January. I think everyone just want to go to long break and do nothing for at least a month. I'm not expecting anyone watching live streams in January. So I'm going to start my live stream from the 2nd of February. It's Wednesday again, so 2nd of February. I make sure I will advertise it in advance for you guys. So probably in January, you will already know what sort of topics will be covered in February. But please, I always ask you, if you have any suggestions, if you think like, Jana, like we would like you to concentrate on those type of topics in 2022, like I would love to hear your suggestions. So obviously, I'm having a lot of fun doing these live streams, but I want to make sure that you guys actually getting value and enjoying those live streams too. So would be glad to would love to get the data, yeah. I have I have maybe some feelings what I want to talk about, but I would love to have some feedback. So I have some data in front of me, what you guys want to listen about. Yeah. So Pramita saying, thank you, James. Saying thank you very much for tonight, Ryan and Yana. Thank you, James. So yeah, guys, again, like any suggestions, please, message me on LinkedIn, join my meetup group, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got 100 subscribers yesterday. Here we go, first milestone on my YouTube channel. Exciting stuff. And also, don't forget to connect to Ryan on LinkedIn too. Ryan, is it the best way to connect with you is LinkedIn?
Yeah, perfect. Just look me up. I think there's only one of me on LinkedIn.
You have a unique name, as I do.
Okay.
It always feels so good to have a unique name, isn't it? So it's so much easier to know that people always find you. So guys, thank you so much for all your questions. And the giveaway, almost forgot about the giveaways. Get so excited about 2022. Ryan, so the little giveaway that we like to give at my live streams, it's a 30 minutes virtual coffee chat with you. So we usually just pick someone who asks the best questions. So who will be the winner today?
Well, I think Dominic, you're probably the most vocal today, and I suspect you've got some plans to do some startup work. So I think probably a 30-minute catch up with you to help answer any questions you may have probably will be valuable for you, I'm assuming. So yeah, Dominic, you're the winner.
Dominic, congratulations, last winner of 2021. I make sure I will connect you on LinkedIn. If you haven't done so, you probably already sent the request to Ryan, but I'll just follow up and make sure it's happening. Krishna Priya saying, thank you, Ryan and Yana, for this wonderful session full of valuable information. Thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback, Krishna. And again, guys, I have to repeat it sometimes, but you need to hear this. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the meetup group. I need your feedback. I need some comments. If you want to, again, like hear some topics, or maybe this great speaker. Maybe it could be even someone in your organization who you admire and you're like, you need to be on Yana's show. Okay, so message me their name. I'll reach out and say, you need to come here and talk about, your career. Especially if someone who has like a great career and you think like they should share this experience, because I think when we hear a story of someone actually went and done it, someone who actually transitioned from one career to another, from one industry to another one, it's way more valuable than just to hear the theory. So that's why, keep an eye for the speakers for me. And Ryan, just to put you on the spot to finish this live stream, your favorite inspirational quote?
Life is short.
There we go. Guys, life is short. Don't waste any more time. If you want to be product manager, get in touch with Ryan.
Do it now.
And get the tips.
Do it now.
Do it now. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ryan, again. Thank you, everyone, again. So I'll make sure we finish before we hit 1 hour. Again, Ryan, is anything else you would like to add? Or
all good. No, thank you. Thank
all
you very
good.
much for coming
Thank
tonight.
you.
Hopefully it was valuable.
Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas in advance for everyone, even if it's still 3 weeks away. Have a great weekend. Have a great festive season. Great New Year. Everything. I'm just too tired. I think that's it. I'll see you guys in 2022.
See you all.